I have two wonderful guests. Firstly, our featured guest here today, which is from SanEcoTec, the co-founder and CEO, Els van Beckervoort. Thank you so much for joining us. And then my co-host today, VP of Communications of Myatel, the chair of the Canada North Business Association, Amy McLeod. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for the invite.
Now we're here today at KRP Properties, which is more than just space, but we're here in Canada, which is also the central hub of huge tech and also we say serious tech, so to speak. But we're here today about talking about a technology that doesn't always necessarily get the attention and also necessarily the exposure that it deserves, and that is why I'm so happy, because Els, you just came from a win from last week's Bootstrap Awards, and you're an Ottawa-based company, but you're distributed throughout the country already. And we're here today to talk a little bit more about how your water treatment system is different than something else, but also talking about the industry itself. So I'm going to pass it over to my co-host Amy to give us a little insight as into, Amy, where do you see this going, and talk a little bit about the industry and of course her winning the Bootstrap Awards.
Yeah, well, thank you, Carlo. And first of all, congratulations. That's a big moment for a small company. I hope you guys celebrated as you should. I would say, you know, in Canada we're really lucky, or we think we are, because we have an abundance of water. We don't think too hard or too much about is it available and how are we treating it. We kind of take it for granted. But I'd be interested in hearing from you, what is the state of water, the water industry in Canada, and what is the where does it intersect with technology? Because we think of it as a pure natural resource, but perhaps we need to rethink that.
Yes, thank you, Amy, and thank you for having me. It's delightful, and it's always good to get that exposure. I think water is essential and critical, and should become the new sexy we were talking about earlier, for lots of reasons. Like, our industry is a wonderful industry, and they do a great service. People, of course, take water for granted a little bit. We have it coming out of our taps, and we go swimming, and we interact with it in lots of different ways, but we don't always maybe reflect on how much energy, time, and resources go into treating that water. Water treatment is necessary, it's essential to keep it safe, to protect it, to do a whole host of different things in processing in different industries. It's absolutely critical. The engineering, the technology, the science that goes into it is often not understood and underestimated. In the context of what we live with today, there is billions of dollars of infrastructure upgrades that need to happen in Canada over the next number of years, and I believe in the next few years it's 80 billion. I believe over the next 10 years it's 300 billion. So these are significant numbers, and that's only to keep our current infrastructure operational. So that gives us some insight into why this is important. Technology comes to bear also on the fact that there are a number of emerging issues that we have to deal with. One such as climate change, trying to deal with the energy requirements of water treatment, trying to deal with emerging contaminants and pathogens and different things that are correlated, they're all interrelated. So having the tools and the people, the skilled people to actually address and look at those issues in innovative ways is essential, whether that's new chemical technologies, whether that's looking at ways in which we can reduce leaks and improve the water infrastructure, whether that's looking at real-time monitoring and being able to have that feedback loop. So there are lots of great ways in which technology plays a role in water treatment, and we're in that space.
Beautiful. Now, Amy, maybe we can, we're going to talk a little bit more of how Canada North is supporting tech in general, and the big celebration that's coming up as well, and talking about talent and how your company is growing, and how talent plays a key role specifically in your business, where it's science and it's technology and of course these creative minds coming all together, and we're fortunate to be in that space that we have access to that talent pool. Before we jump into that, let's talk a little bit just about the technology that you have at SanEcoTec. Maybe you can share with me a little bit else. We're used to chlorine-based treatments. Maybe you can share with us a little bit what makes your alternative different.
Well, chlorine is good and has done an excellent job at keeping water safe, but it has its limitations. So in the context of what I was just explaining to Amy before, there are some challenges with it. And so one of those challenges is that typically chlorine will combine with organics and create disinfection byproducts. That's been known for some time, but there haven't really been a lot of useful solutions in many ways because it requires a lot of pretreatment that's very capital intensive, energy intensive. There's lots of other requirements that go with that. And that's possible, but you're still left with an end product that in the environment will combine with organics. So if we want to operate by a higher standard, such as we try to, putting things better than we find them, or at least not contributing to the chemical load or the burden in our environment, protecting our source water, and dealing with some of those emerging issues, we have seen that it's necessary and it's even possible to replace chlorination, particularly in secondary disinfection, in other process water treatment, in food processing, different things, where you can replace it with hydrogen peroxide, which is very well known, everybody knows it, but everybody doesn't know all the specifics about it, but it has a very good ecological profile. So it breaks down into water and oxygen. It does not in the real world combine with other organics to create byproducts, and so you've got a disinfectant that's able to do a better job and to address some of those challenges. And we can't get into it because it's there's a lot of science there.
Yeah, fair enough.
But you get a better end result. The upstream benefits are such that you can save energy, that you can simplify your process, and you have a better end result. And that's quite revolutionary in some ways, because in our industry we've been looking for ways and means in which we can do that, and there's very smart people that do so. But from our perspective, we in Canada, and we can be proud of that, had the first municipal system worldwide that actually went from chlorination to hydrogen peroxide as a secondary disinfectant. So people were no longer drinking chlorinated water, they were drinking peroxygenated water, which has no taste or odor, doesn't have the typical chlorine aesthetic things that people don't like, but didn't have their disinfection byproducts anymore. So we solved that problem. We saved energy for this specific project. We were recognized by the Clean 50 as well for being a sustainable project and also as a sustainability leader, because all of the system of benefits that we see when we change some key components in that whole water treatment process is quite extraordinary. And really, we're just at the beginning of that, and we think it's going to be very exciting.
Now, I'm going to try and say this right, hydrogen peroxide. Did I say that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Now, the key thing is, you just mentioned that people are aware of that option, and they have been aware of that option.
Right.
Do you know why it's been has it been a challenge in trying to make that? Has it been governance? Has it been science? Has it been, what has been that challenge?
All of those. All of those. We've been at this for a few years now, so we see ourselves still as a startup, but it's taken us a long time to lay a foundation, and rightly so, because when you change a paradigm, safety is the most important aspect, and I understand that regulators have a job to do, and they do a good job. At the same time, there are other demands and requirements that are necessary now, so we've had to look at the science. The science was challenging in a sense that conventional peroxide, doesn't have those qualities that are needed to give the disinfectant capabilities that are necessary. So we found the way to, with our partners, our colleagues in different parts of the world, actually, we've worked to have a system and a chemical that actually is able to, meet all those requirements.
Okay.
So it's as effective as chlorine, but it doesn't have all those side effects and all those other properties.
Okay.
And we're like, we haven't learned everything that we've learned, but we've had now 3 municipal systems for the last number of years. We've done a lot of in lab, and actually we've also had some really great research partners too, at Queen's University, at Ryerson, in different parts of the country as well, where we've been able to demonstrate the foundational science that this can work, where we've been able to persuade regulators that this is an option, and where we've also been able to properly quantify what the benefits are from an energy savings perspective, from an ecological profile perspective, from a toxicological perspective. So it's been a while, but now that we see it working, we can see the benefit, and we can see that the adoption of it is going to be a little bit faster now.
Okay, wow, and maybe I'll pass it over to Amy. Amy, you know, all our companies here in Canada and even in Ottawa, I mean, we're making global impacts, and maybe, you know, I'll leave it over to you. Maybe, you know, where's your company going? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always fascinated to learn what's happening right here in Ottawa, and world-class, industry-changing science and research and technology happening on massive ideas like water treatment. That changes the game for people around the world and opens the door to your company to be the thought leader and the industry leader globally. It's always fascinating to me what's happening right here in our backyard. What's next for your company? What's the next step? You've got the award now. Where do you go from here?
Exactly.
Well, there's lots. So from our perspective, we've done many years of research and development, and we will remain a very strong research and development driven company. We have to move now to commercialization, where we're able to actually implement these wonderful solutions that save people money, but also give them a better end result. So our focus is really to develop a sales team. So that's next. But also to continue to partner within our industry, within other industries as well. That, you know, everything touches water, which is really exciting for us. It's kind of like, okay, we're going to be busy for the next 100 years. You know, there's so much to do, and there's so much that we can improve and add value to. We have really great partners across Canada. We're working in California. We're able to add value to irrigation water, to drinking water for animals, in food processing, in drinking water. So there's lots of different application areas where really consumers are becoming much more discerning. People want to know what goes on their food. They want to know what's happening to their environment. They want to know how we're addressing all of these emerging issues. So we believe that the message we have is one that is here to stay and to be developed, and you know, we're not alone in this. There are other colleagues within this industry that, you know, do a really excellent job, and I think together, you know, we as in Canada, we can be thought leaders, and we can actually start, you know, what we've done here is quite phenomenal in a sense that nobody wants to be first. I commend, you know, regulators and different stakeholders that have enabled this to happen, and, you know, we've been able to show safely that this is possible by saving energy, by improving water quality, water safety to the consumer. There's lots of different benefits, and so we as a country, because we have, you know, more than 20% of the world's fresh water, we can take a leadership role. And I think even in Ottawa here, I've met some wonderful people in different places where I've been asked to contribute and to speak, and everybody shares that vision that, you know, Canada, hey, we're more than oil and gas and wood products. You know, we're also water, and we can take on a leadership role. We've been asked in Italy and other countries, actually in different parts of the world, hey, how can we learn more about what you guys do? How do we learn more about your approach? How do we actually take it forward in other places and provide the same kind of solutions and the same kind of due diligence that I think water deserves? So for us, we're going to start locally, and when I say locally, I mean Canada and the US, with and through some of our joint venture partners in other parts of the world as well. We've been very busy developing some of this IP so that this is, you know, something that we can be proud of here as well, and working with other partners who share this vision and licensing it and being able to grow it from there. So commercialization is our next focus, and thought leadership, I think, goes along with that as well. Yeah.
Wow. Taking over the world, really, pretty much. That's the next step. I love that.
I mean, it's really exciting to hear what you're doing, and I do think that water is a core competence of Canada, and we need to think of it that way. And so I can imagine, you know, if we have you back a year from now, where your company will go. Hopefully, you've got those sales folks on board.
We do.
I do want to say, if you're looking to hire folks, we've got our major, the largest tech hiring event, job fair, coming up in 2 weeks here at the Brook Street in Canada North. It's called TechNata. Over 1,600 folks came through last year. We're looking to increase that this year. It is a great place for anybody who's either looking for a tech job, looking to hire tech-based employees, venture capitalists, all of, you know, everybody you can imagine that is involved in the tech sector. and the industry of advancing technology will be there. I encourage all of our viewers to join us there.
Yes.
It is Wednesday the 28th of March. It runs from 11 till 6 in the afternoon, 11 in the morning till 6 in the evening. Come by. You might find your sales folks there.
Exactly.
It's a great place not only to introduce your company, but to network and build your team, and really to discover further what we have in Canada North and in Ottawa. It staggers me every single time I talk to new people like you that I've just met today about what world-class stuff is going on in our town.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing. Thank you so much, Els, for sharing about your company. And it's so wonderful to have someone like yourself. I can see you get so passionate, and that's what I love about it the most. I can see the enthusiasm. And Amy, thank you for talking a little bit about Tech Canada as well. Now, before we forget, you said anniversary is coming up as well.
Yeah, we have a big anniversary coming up this year for Mitel. 45 years on June 8th.
Oh,
45 years here in Canada.
Me.
I haven't validated, but I want to say we're probably the oldest tech company in Ottawa and maybe Ontario and Canada. I'm not sure. I better double check my facts on that. But you know, it takes a lot to survive 4.5 decades in technology, especially with the changes that happen. So we're preparing to celebrate. We are launching that day what we're calling Mitel Serves, the global day of action for our 4,000 employees around the world, where we'll spread out into the communities where we work and do some good by giving back to community projects.
That's
so
awesome.
we're very excited about this year. It's a big year for us.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And that's so if you're watching this, please continue to stay in touch, because that is why we do this. We need to showcase what's happening in our vibrant tech ecosystem. And so wonderful to showcase individuals like yourself, Els. And thank you so much for joining me today, Amy. For those of you that's watching this, make sure you join us next time right here on Techopia Live. Go to techopia.ca to get more information. If you haven't done so already, we hope to see you soon. Bye.